Welcome back to the Funding Blueprint, the show where we bring you real, actionable insights from the people building, funding, and guiding the startups shaping our world. I'm your host, Stacey Nahaman, and today we're sitting down with Kristina Subbotina, an ex-Cooley startup lawyer turned founder and CEO of Lexi, the legal partner for startups trusted by over 100 companies to help them navigate everything from formation to exit. After nearly a decade representing thousands of innovative startups and top-tier VC funds, Kristina launched Lexi to deliver big law expertise at accessible pricing, powered by AI to make legal services faster, more affordable, and stress-free for founders. In this conversation, we'll explore Kristina's inspiring journey as a founder herself and her unique perspective as an immigrant, an ex-Cooley attorney, and someone who's been deep in the trenches with early-stage companies. She'll also share some of the most common and sometimes shocking legal horror stories she's seen in the startup world and what founders can do to avoid making some of those same mistakes. So let's get into it. Kristina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Cici. I appreciate you for inviting and happy to share some of the wisdom based on experience.
Of course. We're so excited to have you here today. So let's just jump right into it. You've seen startups from all sides as an ex-Cooley lawyer, as an advisor to early stage companies, and now as a founder yourself. So what surprised you most when you moved from advising founders to becoming one?
Actually, I also worked at two venture-backed startups as the associate general counsel. So I was on the inside. That's why very few things really surprise me. But as a founder, I think it's not the shocking, but the surprising thing was the amount of shit sandwiches that you get all the time. And there are so many things. It could be very overwhelming. And I didn't anticipate that I will develop so much empathy towards founders because I'm in their shoes. So even if sometimes, advice doesn't benefit my billing needs, I still want to make sure they get the best outcome because I know how frustrating and overwhelming the journey is. So I viscerally desire to make that, the legal side of it, as easy, as straightforward as it could be. I didn't expect that I would physically feel empathy towards founders because I truly see myself in them.
Definitely. So can you dive a little bit more into how your legal background helped you when starting your own company? And also, where did it not prepare you, if that also applies?
I think I have a 100% founder market fit because I have a legal tech company, law firm for startups, and I'm a startup lawyer. So it doesn't get closer than this at this point.
Yeah.
You can, and I worked for a federal judge at two venture-backed startups, the law firm, and now my own startup. So I feel like all of the experiences made me very well-rounded. Big law showed me what great looks like and how to think 10 years ahead at a very deep level and being just really good at what you do. Being at the startup taught me that sometimes it doesn't matter what the law says. You just need to argue your way into a reasonable position to justify your business model. And if something breaks along the way, that's the price of doing business. Making those judgment calls. So that's what I learned very early on, because out of law school, after working for federal judge, that was my first time job. And I almost got fired because I was just saying, this is what the law is, this is what we need to do. And to give you an example, it was a fintech startup, Tala. And I was like, we need to pay this thing. And turns out that it's a very small thing that, okay, even if we don't pay it, it's not the end of the world. But if we do, it really complicates the user journey. So sometimes the answer is not to jump and do something, is to think whether it makes sense from the business perspective. So yeah, I think everything that I went through prepared me for where I am right now. And in terms of not being prepared, um, I think one thing that I wasn't prepared that I had to learn in the job is how to manage others and be a leader. And the big, I guess this is the opposite
Yeah.
from what I learned as a lawyer, that as a lawyer, you are more of a perfectionist and you individual contributor at all times. Even if you're a partner, you're still individual contributor. And you kind of very narrow. As a founder, you need to dream big, not because you're that ambitious and amazing, but because that is the only reason why you would attract high quality people. They will not come to you to make $1 million a year. So that's one. And then how to manage people. And the answer for me was not obvious, that you don't manage people. You actually become a coach and you help them
Yeah.
win. So I'm still learning that, and that's something that I wasn't really prepared for. And I had to let go part of my identity of being a professional, the perfectionist.
Absolutely. Kind of shifting a little bit here. You've built Lexi specifically to make big law expertise more accessible for startups. So, from your perspective, what are some of the most common legal missteps that early stage founders make when starting out? And then how could they avoid making those mistakes from day one?
Yeah, a couple of very famous cases and like common situations that founders get themselves into that become frequently deathly, that this is the end of the company. So the number one thing is vesting schedule, and overall issuing shares to yourself and to your co-founders. So equity is very valuable if you win down the line. So you have to paper it up from the beginning. And to give you an example, I think it's publicgov.org. The company, they publicly disclosed that one of the co-founders got a 500K, I think, payout for the founders to close the round because his shares didn't have vesting schedule. So that's an example of a good outcome. You paid just 500K to keep going. But I have examples even among my founder friends where they didn't paper up the relationship with their CTO, with the consultant, and they end up suing the company, and no investors want to invest. And the company literally went down at a huge cost for mental health of the founder. So issuing shares properly, with the vesting schedule, with the IP assignment, it really is a prenup. When you get married, obviously you don't plan to divorce. And also, like, as a co-founder relationship, you hope for the best, but you gotta protect those bases because companies like your baby. You want to make sure it goes on no matter the relationship. So it's basic, but many founders make a mistake. For example, they go and use Clerkio, Stripe, Atlas, or other DIY services. And for example, if the second founder joined later, or they didn't click on a button, or they issued shares on Carta while you don't issue shares there, you just record the stock issuance. So they don't have proper consents, they don't have 83B, and it ends up costing a lot. Like one of the situations that was good outcome because the founder, the company got to survive, but the founder personally paid for her shares because during Series A round, in the middle of it, the investor council found that she doesn't have the shares in the company. So she paid like hundreds of thousands of dollars for her shares. And she didn't like it, but there was no way around it. And you would think, it's like, how could you not? It's so basic. But I had founders who swear, I have the shares, my co-founders have the shares, just like take a look, it's all perfect. and they're like, yeah, you have the shares, this dude doesn't. That's the reason why I created Startup Due Diligence Package, to help those founders who used like not a good startup lawyer, who used DIY service. Now they're able to, before they fundraise, before it's really expensive to fix, they share all of the documents with us, and we give them due diligence report, and we fix everything. So when they go to fundraise, they go with a peace of mind. It just came from those moments where, like, panicking, me, the founder, thinking, okay, how do we get out of this? Can you afford buying those shares? So, and number one mistake that I've seen, it's not purely legal, but it's really important. It's the co-founder split of the equity. So it's a double-edged sword that if you give them too little, and if everything is going well, they might get resentful that they don't have enough of a stake in the company. If you give them too much and they don't deliver, they leave the company, you have what it's called dead equity on the cap table. And for early stage company, having 5-10% allocated to someone who's like dead, meaning like not working for the company, it's a red flag. I have a client for whom we're fixing it right now, and it just like very risky. There is no perfect fix. You cannot raise with so much debt equity on your cap table. So it's truly deathly. And there is no right answer. I'm currently in Venice, and the founder who started a company called me and to ask advice on like how to split the equity. And the reality is that no one can answer that question for you. I can give you those pointers, the consequences of their own decision. But only you know whether your co-founder is your true partner or it's just an employee with equity. Whether it's a founding engineer versus co-founder CTO, that's a big difference. And one of the metaphor you can imagine, like when you marry someone, your spouse is not just like a baby producing machine. So when you have like a founder who is technical, it's not just a person producing code. It must be a person, your partner with whom you go for ups and downs. They must be able to deliver, but it's more than that. And the technical skills you can hire, but the co-founder, the partnership, you cannot. And I myself actually made a similar mistake. I had a CTO and we were not really good partners, and the delivery wasn't there. So, but because I know all of the things, so we realized it in the first 3 months, right? This is not working out. I was optimizing for shiny background that this person has like 10 years of experience at like these incredible companies. The references are incredible. But I hired a recent computer science grad who just did it like that. What we couldn't accomplish in 3 months, he just like does it. And so go figure out, right? That the paper says one thing, but the reality says a different thing. The same with co-founder. Even if you have someone incredibly impressive on paper and they like all of these great things, but if the relationship, you're not complementing each other, you don't feel it, there is no, it's just not going to work out in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of diving a little bit deeper into that equity ownership or investor negotiations and elaborating a little bit more or coming, on that partnership, what are other ways founders can set themselves up for long-term success?
Yeah, again, coming back to what I said in the first lesson, vesting schedule and IP assignment is number one. And then the second thing is being self-aware and honest with yourself. If the relationship doesn't work out in the first year, that vesting cliff, then you have to be honest. Don't prolong that, and you cut that. And then the person leaves with nothing. And the company gets to keep the shares to give to a new person. And I've seen the situations where, like, first of all, that helped, but also IP assignment is super important, because I've seen situations when the co-founder leaves and they start just spreading the IP about that belongs to the company and their blog posts because they like had psychotic episode. And because we have everything papered up, we just send a cease and desist letter and it stops. And yesterday I had a call with our client, and they purchased the startup due diligence package, and we cleaned everything up. And 6 months later, the co-founder divorce happened, and we were like, whew. Like, if that happened before that, the company would have like 25% of equity dead. This is the end of the company. So so like it's really, really important that there is no guarantee of success, but there is a guarantee of failure if the relationship doesn't work out because you chose the wrong person. But that you cannot control. Whether the person is right or not, you will know while the relationship is developing, but you gotta protect. While you are dating, you gotta protect, your downside.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of shifting a little bit here. Contracts and agreements often get pushed aside in the rush of building a product or trying to raise capital. So, in your experience, what are the 3 most important legal documents founders should be prioritizing? And what are some key red flags in those that they should watch out for?
Yeah, so I understand that your audience is mostly early stage folks. So for them, set the company. Like, you would be surprised, but some people don't set up the company. They start fundraising without, or like they already have investors ready to invest and they don't have the entity. So you want to have the entity and you want to issue shares to yourself at a nominal value, meaning you have to do it before anyone invests. Don't miss 83, like always have vesting schedule, and don't miss 83B election, which allows you to pay taxes right now versus later when the company becomes valuable. It's really important. IP assignment we already discussed. Everyone who works for you, for your company, needs to have some sort of agreement, advisor agreement, consulting agreement, offer letter. That way you avoid any disputes regarding equity. Like just today I had a call with a potential client, and she started working with someone. She promised equity to them because she liked them, but they didn't agree on anything, and now she doesn't, like, she sees the red flags and she doesn't want to work with them, but she already promised. And once the relationship goes sour, it could be, is it 2% or is it 20%? So, and she was calling that person co-founder. So now it is messy. Then what else? Before you fundraise, like, make sure everything clear in your data room, because once you give access to investors, first of all, they see the mess. I once advised, I was representing a VC fund, and I advised them not to invest $1 million because I saw the backdated documents. And I'm like, okay, this is bad. This is bad signal. And fixing mistakes when the money comes in, it's much more expensive than when you're pre everything and just get a clean house and share it with investors. And that's why I built that at Lexi. When I used to work at Big Law, yeah, it's easy to say, just like, go get everything perfect. It's like almost saying, like, obviously get great quality, go and buy Chanel, right? But like, not everyone can afford it. So I feel like I'm building that brand that AI powered and automated, but still built with the Big Law quality, to make sure you get that peace of mind and quality without losing an arm and a leg.
Absolutely. Shifting a little bit again here, you also bring the perspective of an immigrant founder building a company in the U.S. startup ecosystem. So I'd love to hear, what are some challenges or opportunities that has that lens given you? And what advice would you give to other
This is
immigrant founders trying to navigate this landscape?
It's an interesting fact that I started Lexi on the day when I became a US citizen, right after my oath. And before that, I already started advising startups, but I didn't start actually building company. I think there is something about your immigration status. When you have a stable foundation, you feel like now the world is your oysters. They can't kick me out of the country, so I can do whatever I want. And you become even more fearless. So I think taking care of your immigration is really important, and planning and thinking and strategizing. That's from the employee perspective. From the founder perspective, I love hiring immigrants. Right now, we're changing the team members. All of them are immigrants. They're hungry. They work really, they're just great. There's this greatness. And I think the US, that's something that I love about America, is that it attracts the best talent from the world. So when you hire immigrants, you not just hire average people, you hire the best from other countries, the best in terms of resilience, intelligence, like that hustler go-getter mentality, because they were able to come here and start from scratch and learn something in a foreign language and build their life from scratch. When I came to the US, I didn't speak fluent English, and I was studying law in parallel with the US Russian dictionary. So for me, it was much harder than for US students. And I remember when I was I was taking New York bar exam, many words I didn't know the translation. I just didn't know what they mean. I had to apply common sense and logic. If I don't know the name of this, like, I don't know, microphone, I would be like, okay, this thing is standing on the table and it's moving and then it's hurting someone. Like, I don't care that this is a microphone, but I'm making logical connections. And I think that's what I see in immigrants, that they don't know, but they're comfortable with that uncertainty, comfortable with running things, and they take risks, because the biggest risk they took by coming here, starting from scratch. So when they're starting the companies, I think we immigrants, we have higher chance of success, and that's why majority of billion-dollar company founders are immigrants, because for them it's just like one more crazy thing that I'm gonna do with my life, and you already learned that it works out in the end. You learn that emperors have no clothes. All of the smart people, you think they're smart, like, no, they're the same as you. They just had the courage of start before they are ready, and not know all the answers, but just like keep going. So I think immigrants have higher chances of success because of comfortable with uncertainty, resilience, and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. To kind of wrap things up here, you've seen how the legal industry itself is evolving with tools like AI, and you've built Lexi to be part of that shift. So how do you see technology reshaping how startups access legal services the next few years? And how can founders take advantage of those changes today?
Yeah, Lexi is reshaping it. Definitely, I see already natural change that everyone uses at least ChatGPT. Everyone is using AI. The way we see it and the way we're building it, because it's not going to happen unless you do it. We're building a platform that founders can access, and there are different packages that they can purchase so they can plan their legal budget. And there are also legal experts, people with judgment. I think having someone who's done things multiple times, who's seen many things, that won't go away. Lawyers should be their strategic advisors, but all of the template filling out, all of the mundane work should be automated. And I see the future where 80-90% of legal work is automated. There are really great strategic legal advisors who are multipliers. So for example, I have a startup launch package for 2,500, and still people like, may I pay you $5,000 on top because I want to call you and have your advice. Yes, I listened to your content. Yes, I've read the blog post, but I want to have that peace of mind and advisor by my side. So I think this is going to be the hybrid mode, where we automate as much as we can, but we keep the human in the loop to review everything, and we keep the human in the loop to provide strategic advice. Sometimes you need a lawyer as a coach to just highlight something for you because you're a first-time founder, you're immigrant, and you just don't know any better yet. And in my content, that's what I try doing. Even if you can't afford me, you can at least start becoming aware of common traps so you don't make at least those mistakes. But you do need a partner on your journey if you're building something valuable. And I want to make sure that we are the partner that is fair, transparent, and it's easy for you. It's like it's in that pace of fast pace that we help you build versus, phone calls, weeks, months, unexpected legal bills. I truly hate it as a founder myself because I also have to hire lawyers, right? So I'm building something that doesn't exist because I want it to exist badly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, that's a wrap on today's episode of the Funding Blueprint. Kristina, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey from founding Lexi, helping countless startups avoid legal pitfalls and build stronger businesses. We've covered so much in this conversation. Your perspective as both a founder and lawyer, the most common legal mistakes you've seen and how to avoid them, some memorable horror stories, and how you're using technology to make legal services more accessible for startups everywhere. So if you want to learn more about Kristina's work and how Lexi can support your startup from formation to exit, head over to lexi.ai and check out everything that they're building. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. It really helps others discover these amazing conversations. So thank you so much again, Kristina. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time on the Funding Blueprint.
Thank you for having me. Good luck.